interrupt you there only because we've got an American on the panel, and I'd like to hear from Imani. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a woman of color, I don't think that the change is happening fast enough.
Straight out with the racial identity card. Do you people ever think of yourselves as fellow humans first and foremost? No, you don't, do you? It's all, I'm not white, so therefore I must be a victim.
You know, of course, when we leave it to society to dictate how we progress forward, it's going to take a lot longer, and we're talking about people's livelihoods here.
Well, what are you suggesting? That you can't just leave it to society to evolve naturally, that you have to force it upon the population?
If anything, like, I would argue that there are some people that deserve to be disenfranchised. They deserve to get left behind. Like, what are we pausing ourselves for? It's so that we can really cater to people that are mad that, you know, they don't get to enjoy the privileges that they've had historically for so long that come at our expense, at the expense of other people's livelihoods.
Do you see from that why civilization needs to be maintained in the hands of those who made it just and equitable for everyone regardless of their race? When you have this lunatic saying that there are people who deserve to be disenfranchised and left behind, you can know you're listening to someone who won't have a second thought about packing you off to the gulag because you don't agree with them, or you're not a person of colour, or whatever arbitrary category you were born into that they don't approve of, in her case, a non-Muslim. If I were on the panel, I'd find it hard not to interject to ask the question, what if it's decided that the person who deserves to be disenfranchised and left behind is you?
If anything, I think that this really is the death rattle of racism, right? It's grasping at straws because we are in a changed world. Things are progressing and moving very quickly, and they need to continue progressing that way.
But Imani, can I just
Sure.
put this to you? I mean, when Hillary Clinton came out and referred to Trump supporters as a basket of deplorables, there was a huge backlash, and probably more people jumped into the basket than ever before. Is that part of the problem, that this kind of idea that the progressive left understands everything,
I mean,
and
I think
you understand nothing?
I think the problem is that people are voting for Trump in the first place. You know, I think that's the problem that we have to address here, not the way that we choose to respond to that. If anything, we should make it so that there's zero tolerance for those kind of attitudes to exist within our society. There's no room for that type of intolerance.
Have you ever heard a more intellectually bankrupt statement? She thinks there should be zero tolerance for what she describes as that kind of intolerance. Let me play it again so that we can all understand the level of retardation and profound lack of self-awareness.
If anything, we should make it so that there's zero tolerance for those kind of attitudes to exist within our society. There's no room for that type of intolerance.
Oh yeah, she's a real brain park, this one.
I mean, look at what happened, right? We started giving Trump airtime in the media and giving him an opportunity to present his racist ideologies as a position on a policy platform. It resulted in him actually getting elected. And now it resulted in white supremacist rallies in the streets, NeoNazis going like this again. You know, we really just regressed several generations backward. All this hard work for us to get to this point to make it unacceptable to be racist, now it's out in the open again.
100% the doing of Antifa and the regressive left. All we've heard for a decade is, you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're a Nazi. People are sick to death of you walking around going, this is war, and they're starting to fight back. Take a leaf out of Laurie Penny's philosophy. Get used to it.
So just briefly, I just wanted to ask you about the alt-left.
It's not a thing.
Yes, it is.
A notion
It
coined.
is not a thing.
Yes, it is.
A notion coined. Well, there is such a thing
No,
as
there
is
isn't.
such
Yes, there is.
a thing as Antifa. That's what Trump was talking about.
Antifascists.
Anti-fascists. Yes, that's right. Who went, as the right did, armed into Charlottesville.
They didn't go with guns.
They went with clubs, and they were photographed with guns. So I'm just saying that Trump had a kind of little inkling of a point
No,
here.
he did not.
Yes, he did.
That he could turn around and say, well, his argument was there was this is what happened in America. You see, he said there was violence on both sides. Then there was a poll that said 67% of Republicans agreed with him. So you see the divide emerging over these arguments.
If Donald Trump says that the sky was green, 67% of Republicans would agree. That's not a fact. That is a canvas of opinions of people who are already being misled.
You're so bigoted, Laurie, you can't even face up to the truth.
Look, I am an anti-fascist. I have a great many friends and comrades who are members of anti-fascist groups or Antifa. I think that I personally believe that if fascists want to come and march down your street and racists want to come down and march down your street, you stop them, and you stop them by whatever means necessary short of physical violence. I don't think there is a moral equivalence
The problem is
here.
Antifa don't stop short of physical violence. They
Yes, they
include
do.
physical violence.
But there is a difference between property destruction and running over people. You know,
no,
white nationalists,
now we're talking about murder.
white nationalists in the United States have killed 4 people this year that we know about. Antifa, the anti-fascists, have smashed some windows and torn down a statue. Those are not living people. There is a moral difference here, and I think we really should stick to that moral difference.
Laurie, you're full of shit. You're so full of shit that the shit is dripping out of every orifice, overflowing onto the furniture and splatting onto all around you. That's how unbelievably full of shit you are. And of course you call yourself an anti-fascist, and of course you're sympathetic to Antifa, because you're a Stalinist communist. You don't call yourself Penny Red on Twitter for nothing.
Okay, and I want to bring Imani on.
Yeah, I mean, those people that were marching down the streets with weapons, the neo-Nazis, are the same individuals that multiple times earlier this year showed up to mosques with guns. They showed up to places of worship to intimidate and to impose violence.
Driving down the road in a truck of peace on a dizzy highway. Driving down the road in a truck of peace. Who do you think we'll bump into today?
So now, because people are reacting to it, right, that's not the source of the problem. And to talk about it as if it is creating a false equivalency. And that's a huge disservice to the issues at hand right now. You know, neo-Nazism is not the opposite of leftism, right? Like, it's not even on the spectrum. Neo-Nazism equals hate. And that's the way people are treating it. When there's a backlash because a neo-Nazi is on television and they're sharing their opinions, it's because of the fact that they are getting that airtime and that we're actually affirming, we're legitimizing those opinions and that racist ideology as if it has any space in the conversation at all, and it does not.
I think I actually dislike this woman more than Laurie Penny. She's the most totalitarian, authoritarian bully I've heard.